Okay, so this video is going to talk a bit about Tacoma and where we are economically. Because of what's going on in terms of keeping everyone home, you can't really even say the word of the sickness because YouTube will demonetize. But because of what's going on, a lot of people are curious as to how the economy here locally is going to handle it. Now, if you hear a noise, it's the fans. It's hot here today in Tacoma. For us, hot is anything above 70. For me, I should say anything above 70 degrees is going to be hot. So I apologize. And I'm actually in we have a spare bedroom downstairs, and so that's where I'm at now. You're going to see a lot of videos in this room. One, because it's easier for us to put fans in the windows in this room, obviously. And the man cave, even though we've rearranged it, it is just hot in there. But all that's going to change soon, right? But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the economy here in Tacoma. Make sure you join our Discord in the description box below. But the economy here is still doing really, really good. Right now, is it doing the best that it was doing like 5-6 months ago? No. 5-6 months ago, things were really amazing, and I think most places can probably say things were a whole lot better. But it hasn't really did as much damage as what people thought, right? I don't know if we can go through another closure, because then you're going to have a lot of places that just aren't going to be able to make it. Now, one of them that didn't make it here, amongst a few, is a clothing company that was downtown right on Pack Avenue, and they've been here for 15 years. And so their lease is ending this year, and they decided not to renew because of the uncertainty with the illness. And so that's a huge blow for downtown Tacoma and all of that. Now, that retail space will eventually get occupied, but that's something that's going to happen more and more and more, because even though the facility that business was out of waived all of the rents for the time period, it still affected that business so much to where it doesn't make a lot of sense. Retail, and it goes back to kind of how I felt before. I did a video, I didn't post it, but one of the big weaknesses for most cities, especially in Tacoma, is the lack of affordable retail space. It's just, and I think that until cities get serious about the affordability issue and landlords get serious about the affordability issue, you're not going to have the type of dynamic downtown that you could have. Because the mom and pop places make the business, or they make the city, I'm sorry. They make the economy, they make the city. It's not the Amazons. The Amazons do a big load of people at one time, but it's the small mom and pops that attract families, and people spend their time, and to people just wander around downtown. It's not Amazon. And so the problem that Tacoma has, it's not just Tacoma but Seattle as well, is they do not have enough affordable spaces downtown. They have the prices set as if you were a McDonald's or if you were a big franchise, but they don't have any place. Here in Tacoma, we do have some. Freight House Square, there's a place called Sanford and Son, which is a pretty large building that you can, if you're an independent artist or something like that, you could do, and not only artists but business, you can set up there. But without those two places, Tacoma would not have a lot of the businesses that it does have, because retail spaces are way overpriced. In all of Tacoma, all of Seattle, retail spaces are way overpriced. Sorry, I didn't mean to kick that. So, because of that, businesses are going to be very vulnerable anyway. They can't really absorb a lot of crazy. And you're fighting off competition. and so there's so many different hurdles, and so the cities, and Tacoma's guilty, they hurt themselves because they tax you and stuff like that, which I understand. But on the same token, they are not making it so that businesses have an incentive to stay in the city. They really don't. And so something like this that's going on, even though a business that wants to stay here, they really can't, because they know that they're not going to be able to get the foot traffic that they normally get. And so that's out of the city's control. But it then makes it so that when things do open back up again, to where they're fully open, and this is hopefully a distant memory, it's going to take some time for that space to fill back up again, and it affects the city again. So the high rents affect the city because now this business is not going to be paying taxes. And it's not going to stimulate the economy by having more people in that downtown area that will be spending money at different places, which means more money for the city. Whereas if the city was smarter about it and actually had projects, and incentivize developers to have affordable retail spaces where there's a market cap, the city donates land, developers put in whatever they want, shipping containers or whatever, then you can have a lot more businesses, a lot more people are going to come down, that diversity cluster, that type of thing. That's the smart way of doing it. Makes sense all day. But typically cities want the big kahuna so they can sell the property. The developer builds an $80 million project and the city's happy with that. But that's a short-term gain. Longevity is what you're looking for. And so that business is out, but that doesn't mean that Tacoma is not doing well, because projects that have continued, big projects that have continued, is obviously the hotel. That hotel is pretty much done. I mean, they're moving stuff in at this point. Remember the big, tall, high-rise hotel, the Marriott that's being built? That is completed on the outside. They're moving stuff on the inside. The city is now getting a convention, a pretty decent-sized convention that's ready to go, actually. And I think it's going to be in 2021. It's a glass convention, and so because we have the glass museum and all that, so that's going to be big. That's going to definitely add some vitality downtown. So that hotel's already paying off for the city. Not saying that's the only reason why they came, but that was a big bonus point. The Tacoma Town Center, I haven't talked much about it because the progress is so slow, but they have actually completed that one block, which is the building 2, I believe, in phase 1, and so now the outside is complete, the parking garage is complete, the retail spaces down below are complete, but they're just fixing it because it's an apartment building. They're fixing up on the inside. So that project should be coming online soon, but they've been working at that as well. You go out to Point Ruston, it is crazy how much development's going on. So that's still humming along like nothing has ever happened. And even when things were closed, those construction projects could still continue, all the ones I've mentioned. One of the ones that's going to add more people, that's been in the news for quite some time and it's taken them forever to get done, is the Washington building, right? So there is a big building downtown that has been sitting empty for quite some time. There was a club that was in the bottom of it at one point, and so it is a building that's going to have at least 150 apartments in it. And what makes this very important is the fact that this large high-rise is going to add density clusters that the city of Tacoma needs. I don't think we have another residential building that's going to be that tall. So yeah, it's not a new build. It's been around for a long time. I mean, it's built out of some big old huge steel. They talk about when it was first built, it was like literally the tallest building at one point in this area, including Seattle. So it now is not, obviously. Seattle has a ton of big, tall buildings, but it's like the number 4. It's the 4th tallest building in Tacoma. So it is going to be pretty interesting. They're going to take the whole downtown, the whole bottom floor, and that's going to be some sort of a retail space, right? Don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be a retail space. It was an old bank, so there's a huge vault, and that vault is going to be a lounge for the residents that live in the building. So this 150 units is big because, again, adding that many people downtown is extremely important in times like this. There's another project that was supposed to be constructed. I don't know where they are with it, but it's going to add quite a few people. So the downtown area is still continuing to grow in Tacoma quite well. It hasn't affected that. There are some businesses that have actually had to close, but many of them are still going like nothing's happened. I'm not saying that their budget hasn't been impacted. Our budget has. I'm not saying that they can handle another closure for months on end. I'm not saying that. But I do think that things are doing pretty good here, better than in Seattle in many respects, right? In Seattle, they have a lot of different collisions going on at the same time. So in Seattle, they have, obviously extremely high rents, extremely high competition. It is a tourist destination, unlike Tacoma, and now all the tourists are gone. There's hardly any tourism going on. So those businesses that rely on that are impacted twice over, because the businesses that the lunch crowd is gone, and now the tourism industry is gone. So those businesses that really relied on that are suffering. And so it's a huge, huge effect, right? So I think after all of this is said and done, there needs to be a better, and in both, I think the cities need to make sure that you don't allow price gouging, because a lot of the retail spaces in the country are price gouging. And I say that because when you really and truly look at what's being offered and what you have to do to improve the space and all of that, it's not a model that's going to last, especially since the retail industry is changing so drastically anyway. Most people shop online. It doesn't make sense for retail spaces to be as expensive as they are. And you're seeing even malls taking the hit, because the typical stores that could pay unlimited amounts of money are gone. So there's going to have to be a change, and it's going to require the landlords to wise up and not be ridiculous. It's going to require the cities to do more than what they have been doing, because that tax revenue is going to be gone. So anyhow, talking about the economy here in Tacoma, the retail industry is doing okay. It's hanging in there. The city has also allowed for, dining outside, which is something they should have done a long time ago. But now you can dine outside, and it doesn't have to be so close to the building, and it doesn't have to have railing and all this other crazy stuff. So now businesses can practice that social distancing more by saying, hey, go over and eat way over there if you want to. I think the big thing is that it's all about alcohol. And so anytime that someone buys a drink, the city doesn't want them to drink out in public, which I think is ridiculously silly. But if you are 40 feet from the building and there's a table that the city owns or whatever, that restaurant can say, look, go over there and eat, we'll bring the food to you, and you're away from people. But the big issue is alcohol. That is not, that's basically the issue, which to me I think is very archaic. Those types of laws shouldn't exist anymore, in my opinion, because all they do is hurt business, and they hurt the city as well. And it brings in this whole issue of enforcement. You have to bring people out and the police to enforce those types of things, and it just becomes a big, huge mess. And that's really shouldn't be the role of law enforcement, in my opinion, anyway. So anyhow, that's a totally different topic. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, join our Discord. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.